Good morning, everyone. So here's what we intend to look at during this session. Firstly, I'll give a brief introduction to how you go about creating web apps within ArcGIS. Secondly, we'll look at a process that might help you decide which application builder to use for your given scenario. And then we'll run into a series of scenario-based demonstrations where Tash and Ilyes will bring this to life for you. We'll also highlight some public examples for each of the different application builders so that you can get a feel for what other people have done. So let's start by looking at where web applications fit within the ArcGIS system. As many of you will appreciate, ArcGIS provides a range of different client applications for delivering tools for your users, whether it be thick client desktop applications or lightweight web or mobile applications. But we also provide a range of app builders that allow you to create tailored experiences for your users with the look and feel and the functionality that is required for each use case. These app builders can be accessed directly through the map viewer or also from the My Content area of your portal. But what do they all do? It's actually quite hard to describe the differences between the different options that are available. So here's my go at a simple overview of each, in rough order of complexity, starting with the easiest. ArcGIS Instant Apps provides a quick builder for a very focused app that typically just does one thing, one role. And it's very easy for anybody to create an app using ArcGIS Instant Apps. Next up, we have ArcGIS StoryMaps. This provides a framework for combining maps with other things such as narrative text, media, to guide a reader through an immersive scrolling experience. Next up, we have ArcGIS Dashboards. These allow you to create a single screen that combines maps with other data visualizations such as gauges and charts to really get insight into your data. And finally, we have ArcGIS Experience Builder. This offers the most advanced capabilities, but it also is quite easy to get up and running with if you use one of the pre-canned templates. Or you can start from scratch and create a really highly configured, highly tailored experience for your end users with just the functionality that you need. Now, some of you may be thinking, I've missed a couple of options out. You may have come across configurable apps or web app builder in the past. Whilst these app builders are still available, they are based on an older version of the underlying JavaScript API, and therefore cannot leverage some of the newer capabilities that the new map viewer offers, such as grouped layers and effects. So these are considered to be coming towards the end of their life, and if you can then use the newer app builders, that would be the recommended approach. So how do you decide which of these four to use? Well, a recommended way for thinking about it is to ask yourself these four questions. Firstly, what is the purpose? What's the aim of this app? Why are you building it? Secondly, who is the audience? Who's actually going to be accessing this? What kind of devices might they be using? Thirdly, what's the design and functionality considerations? Does it need to fit in with corporate branding, for example? What kind of capability does the end user need to have? What functionality do they need? And finally, how tech-savvy is the person actually creating the app? Do they have a vast GIS or web design experience, or are they doing this for the first time? So, we're going to walk through a few scenarios to help bring this to life and help you understand these different questions. And we're going to go back to a scenario that we saw in the opening plenary around Manchester. As we already understand, Manchester has one of the highest levels of air pollution, particularly around the main arterial routes. So to help reduce the number of cars that are using these roads, we want to encourage car sharing, and so we have created Arc and Ride, a voluntary scheme for people to share lifts to work. Members of the scheme can share details such as pick-up points, shown as the blue icons on the map, drop-off points, the red flags that you can see, and the actual routes that they will take, the lines in between, that have details such as operational days, timings, and available spaces. This whole Arc and Ride scheme requires multiple applications. So let's dive into our first scenario, and for each of the scenarios, we'll look at the application that we built, explain some of the choices that we made along the way, and how you go about doing it yourself. So scenario one, we want to create a public-facing application to allow people to see the routes that are available that may be relevant to them. So let's think about those 4 questions. The purpose this time is only one purpose. It's just simply to present the available routes for a particular new person that might want to sign up for the scheme. The audience in this case are going to be members of the public accessing this on our website. And the look and feel needs to be very simple, clean, responsive to different device types, because people might be joining via laptops or mobile devices. And it just needs simple searching and filtering capabilities. The person creating this app is actually going to be our GIS user, who has limited knowledge of creating web applications and limited time available. So looking at the different options that are available, it's clear that you could actually use more than one different app. But ArcGIS Instant Apps seems to be the best choice in this case, because we only require one particular functionality, and the person generating it has limited time and experience. So to explain how we got on with ArcGIS Instant Apps, here's Tash.
Thanks, Robin. So let's now take a look at an instant app that we created earlier using the nearby template, which allows you to search for your nearest car shares. As you can see, Arc and Ride operates across Manchester. And for a member of the public first picking up this app, we wanted it to be simple, clean, and intuitive. That's why we have this symbolized information panel here, which you can turn on and off to show the user how they can use the app and some of the extended features available. When building a public-facing app, we wanted to provide local context to this large area of interest, which is why we've used this street space map. People local to Manchester will be familiar with the road network, like the M6, the Manchester Outer Ring Road that we saw in the plenary, and also the Manchester Inner Ring Road, providing a spatial frame of reference at different scales. Let's now jump back to the whole of Manchester. Whilst this navigational base map can be valuable, you might want a cleaner view of your routes. And so you can jump to a more generalized base map to show the enhanced routes available. Now, the purpose of this app is to search for your nearest route, and you can achieve this in 3 ways. By searching for your address using the geolocators provided by your organization, using your current location, also available here, which can be deployed on a mobile application, or thirdly, by searching anywhere on the map itself. And so I'm going to type in my hometown here. And what you'll see is some different options, and it's zooming into a 1-mile radius from my home. Now, I'm willing to look further away, so I can slide this up to 3 miles, which now brings out 2 car share routes. Before diving further into this, you can notice the Arc and Ride's orange and purple brand colors coming through to create this identifiable branded app. Now, I was looking to travel into Manchester on Wednesdays, so let's have a look at the car share routes available. This one from School Road operates on a Wednesday, as does this one from Altrincham Road. But this one is only one way and the car looks nearly full, so I'm going to go with David's route here. Before I decide to register, I want to know how I can get to my pickup point. So I can use some of the extended features available that's baked into instant apps, like this directions, showing that it would take 3 minutes for me to drive. I did want to save on emissions, so I can change the mode of transport here to walking. Now I can see it will take me 17 minutes, and I've got the directions to do so. I also want to share this with a colleague who lives nearby. And so I can use this screenshot widget to capture an image of the map and to show some of the results available as a PDF. This is now showing the different pickup points within my area, as well as the car share routes. As you can see, this app provides simple searching capabilities, but we might want an app with more filtering options, like the available days of the route. Let's quickly spin up a new instant app. In the new map viewer, it leverages the JavaScript 4 API to provide these enhanced cartographic visualizations, like using effects here to show this cutout of Manchester using the drop shadow. Once my map's complete, I can create apps directly from this map viewer, like the 4 app builders that you'll see today. So let's spin up an instant app. This is going to show that we've got lots of different templates for common workflows, like Countdown or Nearby that we just saw. Since we did launch this through the new map viewer, it was able to see what features and layers we had. And so it's able to identify which templates we can't use because of those missing abilities, like this web scene here for the 3D viewer. Now, for the app that we want to create for filtered daily routes, I think that the interactive legend could be fit for purpose. And I can test this by launching into the preview mode to see if it does filter by the days of the week. And as it's starting to launch here, what we'll see is the interactive legend start to come up. And here, if we flick through it, we can see that we can turn off specific routes, and so it's a good app for us to use. So I can choose to configure it here, and it prompts me to write in a name, which launches me into the configuration. Since the user has limited time and knowledge, we'll use the default Express setup. This provides 5 quick steps to get you up and running in no time. Firstly, selecting your map, which I'm happy with here. Next, providing some more information like a splash panel. And also some extended functionality for the interactive legend. So I want to add the feature count to show how many routes are available on certain days. In terms of the interactivity, I can delete some of these geolocators, but for this app, I'm going to turn off searching itself. And lastly, I can change the theme and layout by adjusting where the widgets are placed. Now, because this is a public app, it's going to be readily deployed on mobile, so I want to see what it looks like. I can use the views here to see it in portrait, where I can rescale and focus my map. Now, the last thing that I wanted to do was search for my current location, but I didn't see this in the Express setup. So I can use the search settings here, which shows me that it is available but in the full setup. Now, the full setup provides this extended capability and more ability to customize your app. So I can turn on the Find Current Location button, as well as a Help panel. I can then move everything over to the left-hand side before launching my app. As it launches, I've shown within minutes, we have spun up a map to app, showing that this is a perfect app for any creator with limited time or knowledge. And as it's launching here, we can start to see these widgets on the left-hand side, showing what and how to use the interactive legend, the ability to search for your current location, and also turning off specific days of the route so I can see which ones travel only on Wednesdays. So now we have 2 instant apps created within minutes that the public can now go and explore. Now I'll pass you back to Robin to explore some of the real-world examples of instant apps.
Thank you, Tash. As you saw, instant apps offer a whole range of different templates for getting these applications up and running. On screen are some examples, such as the zone lookup, which allows you to look up which area a particular address or location falls within, ideal for bin collection days, for example. Or the portfolio template that allows you to display multiple different layers of information over the same geographic area. Or if you just simply want to present information as a map, there are various different 2D and 3D viewer applications available. If you want to be inspired as to what else is available, simply search for Instant Apps Gallery and you'll find a whole range of public examples. So let's move into our second scenario. Having registered their interest, our next requirement is for a user to actually manage their routes and their passengers. So let's think about those 4 questions once again. The purpose this time is twofold. We want to allow people to view, edit, and add driven routes, but we also want to allow passengers to request to join available routes. The audience in this case are going to be private users, people who have registered for the scheme, so it may have access to data that's not publicly available. The design needs to be on brand, And because we're covering multiple different functionalities, it may be useful to have a multi-page app. Again, it needs to respond to different screen types. And we also, in terms of functionality, need editing to be available. The user that's creating this application in this case is actually the GIS user again, but maybe working alongside a UX designer who has a much more keen eye on the layout, color schemes, font choices, etc., and perhaps has more time to make sure the functionality is just right. So again, looking at the available options, it's clear that in this case, ArcGIS Experience Builder is the right choice because it offers all the required functionality within one app. So here, to explain how we got on, is Ilyes.
Thanks, Robin. So after deciding to use Experience Builder, we had to think about the design of the application. As Experience Builder offers a lot of flexibility when it comes to designing and branding, we always recommend you explore some of the pre-built templates, which offer or provide the building blocks for your application. There are many templates to choose from, including the Web App Builder Classic templates. Besides templates, sketching wireframes of how you want your application to look is essentially useful and can help in planning your application layout. In our case, we needed a multi-page application. One page for exploring car sharing routes, one for adding or modifying routes, and one to request to join routes. So we sketched wireframes for all the 3 pages. We used PowerPoint for this, but you can use any applications you are familiar with. You can see roughly that we wanted a header on the top of the page, or all our pages, with buttons to navigate between them. On the first page, we wanted to include a brief intro about Arc and Ride. Under that, we sketched a map in the center and 2 panels on each side with tools to support exploring the map. So for this one, we chose a blank scrolling template. On the second page, we want the map-centric experience with editing tools in a panel. So we selected the Web App Builder Pocket template, as this comes without a header since our application already have one. Similarly, on the last page, we need the map and the panel. But this time, we went with a blank full screen as we wanted more flexibility when designing this for multiple screen sizes. These wireframes made it easier for us to create the application, so let's now switch to the finished application. At the top, we have our header with a few buttons to navigate between the pages. For the intro part, we were able to customize with a background image, a brief introduction to the scheme, and a button that takes our users to an external resource to read more about Arc and Ride. Because this is a scrolling template, I can scroll down to the main section of this page, which consists of 3 parts: a map in the center and 2 panels on each side. On the left-hand side panel, we used stacked tabs to fit a few elements. The legend is to understand what's on the map. The filter allows us to filter the routes on the map. So for example, if I want to filter routes coming from Wigan Local Authority that operate on Thursdays and have available spaces, I can do that simply by turning on these filters. And if I want to know more information about these routes, I can switch to the Route Info tab, where I can read more information about the filtered routes. Now, for some users, looking at a 3D view is more intuitive to understand where things are. And because Experience Builder supports 3D scenes, we decided to include one on our page. 3D scenes can also interconnect with other elements. In my experience, like, for example, if I go and select one of these drop-off points in the 3D navigation panel, say Bloom Street, the 3D scene zooms into its location and highlights it for me. Now let's navigate to the second page in my experience, which is designed for one purpose: editing or adding new routes to my experience. Here you can see that I can only see one route on my map. And that's because I am a registered user, so I can only edit routes that I drive or I own. If I want to edit my existing route, I can simply select it and then all its information are available for me to edit here. But in this case, I will go ahead and add a new route. So I'll select this layer and then add a route from the Fieldsworth area into one of the drop-off locations in central Manchester. After I finish digitizing my line or my route, I can then go ahead and start filling out its information. So I'll put my name here, my phone number, and choose to operate this on Wednesdays and Thursdays. As for the times, I will choose to operate it on both morning and evening. That means it's a return journey. And for the car capacity, I'll put 5. Out of them, there's 3 available spaces because my colleague will be traveling with me. Notice with me is that as I fill my route information, the grayed out boxes are auto-calculated for me. This is because Experience Builder leverages the smart form capabilities stored within my map specifications. Now let's go to the last page in my Experience Builder, which allows users to request to join routes. On this page, we decided to embed a Survey 123 form to make use of its capabilities. Not only we were able to embed a Survey 123, but we connected it to the routes layer on my map. So for example, if I select one of the routes here, notice with me how the route ID field was auto-populated. I can then fill out the rest of information, choose, for example, which days I want to join this route, the type of journey that I want to join, and submit a request to the driver of that route. Now, for most of the users who will be using that page, they will be using probably their mobile devices to fill out this form. While Experience Builder support or is screen responsive by default, it offers the option to further customize your application layout for different screen sizes. Here, if I go and switch my screen size to mimic a mobile screen device, you can see how the layout changes to fit my screen size. The survey moves to the bottom of the page, and the page's buttons move inside this little icon in my header. Now, to show you quickly how the builder works, I'm going to demonstrate quickly how to add an embedded application into my current experience. So the first thing I will do is that I will add a new page, and I will choose a blank full screen template. I will call this nearest route, and then move it to be my second page. Now, after doing that, in the page properties, I will enable the header to add it at the top of my current page. The next thing I will do is go and add the embed widget from the widgets list. And I will place it anywhere. Then I will choose to fit it to the full screen size of my page. The last thing I want to do is paste a URL to Tash's Instant App that she just demonstrated. And here we go. In a few steps, when the application loads, I was able to create a new page with an embedded Instant App in that experience. And with that, I will pass it back to Robin to continue our Arc and Ride journey.
Thank you, Ilyes. You really can build whatever you want with Experience Builder, and I hope that came across through that demonstration. On screen are some more public examples of other experience builders that have been used by our customers. The Rivers Trust and Environment Agency, for example, have created public applications to showcase their data, their approach, whilst also allowing data download. Other examples include the ability to explore the surface of Mars in 3D. And at the bottom right, you might see something familiar from earlier on this morning. That 3D experience touring across Europe was all built in Experience Builder. If you want to get inspired and see more examples, again, simply look for Experience Builder Gallery. So, third scenario, our users are now sorted, but our next requirement is to actually monitor the uptake of the scheme and provide metrics to interested parties. So let's think about those 4 questions once again. The purpose this time is to provide a live feed of key performance indicators, such as number of users of the scheme, to the stakeholders, which in this case will be senior management within our own organization, but also people such as the City Council who may be interested in the uptake. The design, look, and function needs to provide live updates that are constantly being refreshed, that's view only, with some simple filtering capability, slicing and dicing the data by region or temporal period. And the user that's creating this in this scenario is a data analyst, much more familiar with maybe BI tools, aware of how the data is structured, and they have some moderate GIS knowledge. So again, thinking about the available options, it's clear that in this case, ArcGIS Dashboards is the best fit, as it provides that live update capability and the filtering options that we desire. Here's Tash to explain a little bit more.
Here we have our monitoring dashboard to visualize and provide insight of a live view of Arc and Ride since it started this year. When building an app for senior management and stakeholders, we're aware that they're rarely exposed to GIS. This sidebar therefore provides information about what this dashboard is and how they can use it, identifying 3 key aims. Number 1, to monitor KPIs. Number 2, to track car share requests. And number 3, to filter and record data. This can then be tucked away to see all the data at a glance. Now, this dashboard uses a subtle color scheme utilizing the dark theme to minimize brightness and enhance important metrics. This can be an effective technique for monitoring dashboards that are often wall-mounted for display among management. We've also gone and generalized the base map by removing the labels to provide little visual noise and enhance the routes. Now, these are just some of the best practices for visualization that we'll expand on today. Let's dive further into the dashboard. Firstly, we have our 3 KPIs along the top here. It's showing we've saved 274 journeys this week from 60 Arc and Ride car share passengers. And overall, we've saved 22.80 tons of carbon since the scheme began. If we zoom and pan into the map, you'll see that the dashboard is updating to reflect the scale. And so it provides quick insight into the data through the KPIs, the request feed, and the operational local authority. We've used icons to make our dashboard more intuitive, as well as a gauge to show the progress and tracking of our carbon emissions, as well as our target itself. You may have already noticed this last update was a few seconds ago. This is showing a live view of our data set. And if we pan around to where Ilyes added his new route, we can see here that it's now a true reflection of the live view. And so we're yet to add the local authority, hence why it hasn't been symbolized. Now, we can go and look at our KPIs temporally through charts, like this bar chart showing saved emissions from January to May. We can begin to stack these to use space more effectively. And this is showing a line chart of the registered users to Arc and Ride broken down into passengers and drivers. You can see that we've had a successful uptake of the scheme, and we've even met our target of 80 users for May in early April. To explore our second aim, let's jump into the configuration builder. As you can see, this user interface provides lots of screen real estate through the collapsible panes, showing your dashboard as if it has been published. Whilst you can use Experience Builder to create a dashboard, this app provides easy to configure ways to add elements through here, to provide interactions through map actions like the filter here and layer actions, and also to configure the layout of your dashboard through drag and drop. So a data analyst can get up and running in no time. Our second aim was to track passenger requests. This feed is showing important information like the last request made to join a car share and whether it's been accepted or requested, how many available spaces are in the car, and on what date the request was made. For a good dashboard, you want to grab the user's attention to what's most important. And so you can use color more effectively by leveraging enhanced lists like this. In the new ArcGIS dashboards, it now supports Arcade, which is our ArcGIS expression language. If we jump into the configuration, we can see that we're leveraging Arcade for advanced formatting. This expression formats each request via status, using an if statement to return a hex code. And so we can see that we've got requested items here in orange. If you want to format it to a particular layout, you can use the line item template here to specify specific text, whether it's indented, and the style of your list. Using this dynamic list, it makes our data easier to interpret at a glance and able to track accepted and requested car shares more easily. Finally, we wanted simple filtering and slicing of our data, which is inherent to dashboards. We can do this by operational local authority over here by selecting Salford, and we'll see the dashboard update to reflect in the KPIs, the passenger request feed, and also spatially on the map itself. We can also use selectors to specify a date period. So if we wanted to look in the last couple of months, what has been requested? This is showing a subset of our data here. This can be really useful for management to record. And by enabling data download here, this allows us to record our data in a CSV, which can then be used in other systems to analyze. Today, I've shown you some of the features of ArcGIS Dashboards offers as best practices when choosing and configuring our apps. So now I'll pass you back to Robin to show you some real-world examples to support decision-making.
Great, thank you, Tash. Dashboards are one of the most popular application types in ArcGIS, and there are literally thousands of public examples that you can go and explore. Whether it be monitoring fires or the spread of COVID-19 over time and space, whether it be understanding patterns in historic car collision data, or providing simple access to complex ocean health score data, there are plenty of examples to inspire you. Again, search for Dashboards Gallery to find lots of other examples to look at. And so we move to our final scenario. We need an app to act as marketing collateral to showcase the great work of Arc and Ride. So let's, for a final time, think about those 4 questions. Our purpose this time is to share details of the scheme and its uptake, also to attract and engage new users. The audience will be members of the public, and this will be embedded within our own website. Therefore, it needs to be on brand and include images and fonts and color schemes that all match in with that. And we want this to be as immersive and intuitive as possible. The app creator in this case is actually one of our marketing team, who has limited GIS knowledge, but has a great understanding of making things look just right. So, again, looking at the available options, it might be no surprise to you that ArcGIS StoryMaps is our best solution. Here's Ilyes to explain how they got on.
Here we have a story map that we built to share details about the Arc and Ride scheme. We decided that story maps is the best fit for our scenario, as it allows us to combine both narrative text with multimedia content. And all of this to deliver an appealing story. In the first section, we wanted to start with why we launched Arc and Ride, by providing details on the current issue of air quality in Manchester. So you can see how we use different font sizes and colors, quotes, and images to capture the attention of the reader. We also included an interactive map to encourage users to explore and engage nitrogen dioxide levels provided by EarthSense. As you can see here, if I swipe the map to the left, you can see higher levels of nitrogen dioxide around Manchester compared to surrounding areas. We then introduced the city's aim to become zero carbon by 2038 and the newly introduced Clean Air Zone scheme. And we were even able to include or reference some external related resources like this article from ITV News. After sharing the air quality issue in Manchester, we introduced the Arc and Ride scheme as a possible solution. And here we use the gallery of images to inspire users and allow them to imagine themselves being part of Arc and Ride. As I continue to scroll down, you can see how I use this dynamic or floating panel to highlight the steps of how Arc works, which provides an immersive experience to the reader, as Robin just mentioned. We wanted also to share some stats on our progress in terms of the number of registered users, journeys saved, and CO2 emissions reduced. So we used this timeline feature in StoryMap to show this in a very interesting way. In terms of the Arc operational areas, we wanted an interactive element in our StoryMap. So we chose to include a map with action buttons to highlight these areas. Here, if I click on one of the local authorities, say, for example, Rochdale, the map zooms into its extent and filter the pickup points that exist within Rochdale. Now, as part of this story map, we wanted users to check whether Arc is a viable option for them. And since story maps support embedding other live applications in the ArcGIS system, we decided to embed Tash's amazing Instant App again, so users can search and explore their nearest roads. Finally, for those interested in joining Arc we used a button with a link to the registration page. But alternatively, we could also embed a live form to streamline the registration process from this story map. Now, to quickly show you how easy it is to add or modify elements in story maps, let's jump to the builder here. Here, if you need to add a new element, the only thing you need to do is select where you want to add your elements, and then select the element that you wanted to add from this list of elements. But in my case, I will go ahead and modify some existing elements that I have in my story map. Here, for example, I don't like the width of this swipe map, so I can make it smaller, or I can make it bigger. For the background of this section, instead of having a static image, I wanted to have an interactive map. So I'll go ahead and delete this image, and then add an interactive map. I'll select a map that I already configured for this. And when the map loads, I can move its extent to the left, because I know the panel will be covering this area here. I'll choose to place the map. And here we go. We have an interactive map as a background for my floating panel. Now, to change the theme of my story map, I can simply go to the Design tab and select one of the default themes here. And this will change the theme of the whole story map immediately. But alternatively, you can create your own custom themes, like I did for this one. Custom themes can be created in the theme builder here, where you can modify your story map colors and fonts, as well as the style of your story map elements. Like, for example, buttons or quotes or separators and so on. And this is particularly useful if you need to match your corporate colors, or you need to consider accessibility of your story map to users with color blindness. So with that, I'm afraid that we came to the end of our Arc journey. So I will pass it back to Robin to wrap it up.
Great, thank you, Ilyes. It's perhaps not surprising that story maps are one of the most popular ArcGIS applications being used. And there are, again, loads and loads of public examples to look at, covering things such as flooding or politics, whether it be as articles, as reports, or briefings. Story maps can also be grouped together into what are called story map collections. You can see an example on screen here where we've created a collection of story maps all about how to use and get up and running with the ArcGIS Living Atlas. Again, if you want to be inspired, simply search for Story Maps Gallery and you'll get access to all of these resources. So as you've seen, we've created 4 different applications for Arc using different app builders to serve different types of users who have different types of requirement. Yet, although they are all different, they're all accessing the same data, and in some cases, the same maps and even applications, ensuring consistency and avoiding duplication. And this is one of the real powers of ArcGIS, that you can take the same data set and serve it up to different users in different ways, but they're all accessing the same data. And you don't need to write any code to do that. So I hope that you've all picked up some tips from this session, whether it's how to get started, how to choose the right application, or simply seeing what's possible. I hope we've inspired you to go and give it a go when you're back at your desk. Thank you.